Unnecessary intro song to totally waste your time. Hey, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, smash that like button, tickle the post, boost the algorithm, like it, share it, subscribe it, send it out to all your friends, do whatever you can. You need to help me. The message needs to get out there. It's really important. It boosts the channel. Like, share, and subscribe. Do all the things. Make sure you post a link. Everything's in the bio. My links and everything else, my merch, and like it and share it and subscribe to it and then merch it and then share it with all your friends and tickle the posts and smash the bell and turn on notifications and invite me over to your house and make sure to tattoo my name on your forehead and do everything that you can to make sure that everything that I like is spread around the world. Please treat me, be a fungus, be a cancer. Do that, like, share, and subscribe. That's the way that shit sounds to me. I can't stand it. It's a pet peeve of mine, and people that make posts that I like do it. But like, what's the worst? Why would you say that to anybody? That's the thing that I don't understand. Why? If somebody likes something, they'll like it. If they want to share it, they'll share it. And if they want to subscribe, they will subscribe. These are all things you don't need to do. You don't need to ask them for any of this stuff. And when you do, to me, it just makes you annoying to me. My respect for people who say shit like that, I have to ignore it. Let's just put it that way. When I hear somebody do it, I have to ignore it. Like Fleckus and Richard Ratboy, they do it. They at least try to be funny about it with the tickle the post, but still, just shut up. You don't need to beg people. You can let them know about stuff that you have. If you want to, hey, we have stuff for sale. Check this out. Buy it if you want to. If you don't, so what? Anyway, the thing is I just don't think it helps. Maybe it does. I don't know. I don't think so. Because I certainly have never liked, shared, or subscribed to anything because I was told to or reminded to. And I also don't think it's necessary. Because I don't know about you, but if I watch a video and I don't even like it, but I watch it because I hate watched it, YouTube is positive I want to see everything from that person. Like, I wish there was some way I could control my YouTube algorithm so that it knows, look, I hate watched this. Don't feed me anymore. I don't want to see 1,000. I like seeing this person's one video. I don't want to see all of their videos for history. I didn't subscribe. I didn't even like the video, yet my feed looks like I'm the biggest fan of whatever the fuck it was. Dan's drain repair. I watched the video because I had a problem with my drain. I don't need to see 1,000 more videos from Dan's drain adventures. The one was fine. That was sufficient. Anyway, that brings me to another topic I wanted to talk about, which is viral things that get popular. My interaction with my channel and my popularity, or lack thereof, is completely in line with my observation of reality. If it were any different, I would be confused. Like, I got really popular for photography, but the photography involved pretty girls in the nude. So when that was really popular, that coincided with my observation of reality. Boobs are popular. Nudity draws attention. It's pretty simple math, right? And then you've got certain political views, certain ideas, certain thoughts are popular. When they go viral and they get big, it's not surprising. It's not surprising when people who say broad general things, and this seems like a contradiction, but extremist views can also be broad to one team. If you say something, if you appeal to Republicans, there are a lot of Republicans. So if you say the things that Republicans think and you agree with them all the time and you cheerlead for that team and you say things that they say, whether you're telling the truth or not telling the truth, honesty or whatever, the chances that you're going to gain an audience are pretty big or bigger. Let's just put it that way. If you keep putting out content and try to make it quality. Same with the other side. If you keep putting out a message, but if you put out a message that is neither that side or that side, that has elements of that side, like if you start saying something that Republicans typically agree with or conservatives typically agree with, but then there's a spin that is totally not something they agree with, that maybe even criticizes them or that way of thinking, or suggests that there's another way to think, well, chances are you're not going to get somebody that wants to listen. They'll be like, I don't want to hear that. Click off, no like, no share, no subscribe. And the same thing with the left, especially with the left. Let's put it that way. The left, you can easily poison the well with the left. The right's going to be more tolerant, for sure, of disagreements. There's no doubt about that. But, so the way I've felt in my life up till now is that I don't belong in any camp. Nothing I shouldn't say this. There are some things that I like that are popular. Like, for example, American Idol. I like watching American Idol. And I generally agree with America right up to the top 5. And many times to the winner. I go, yeah, I get that. I agree. This is a fair judgment. So sometimes there are broad things that I like. America likes David Spade and Dana Carvey. So do I. It's broad. I like a lot of general things, but when you can mix everything into what I like and my views, it gets really super narrow because conflicts arise, And so when I see my videos of my opinions getting very few views and very few traction, that matches with my observation of reality. That's what I expect. Some people, when they don't get views and they don't get traction, they complain and want, I've been shadow banned and whatever. And yeah, those things are all true. And I have had things that are broad that have been shadow banned, like my video of you got to go to school to get that done. I watched the trajectory. I knew that it was I knew that there was an audience for it. I knew there was a lot of people that would agree with it. And the way the sharing went, it happened, and I saw an organic climb, a ski slope. It was climbing, and then fell off a cliff in an instant because it was turned off. Like it was basically taken out of algorithms. I could see that it was unnaturally fucked with, But I also expected that. You expect that. You expect certain businesses to not want to support things that are going to bring controversy to them or cause them headaches. So it wasn't surprising to me. It was frustrating when I got throttled and shut off, but it wasn't at all surprising because it matched my experience with the world. I mean, and not just the online world, but the regular world. When I go to parties, I know there are certain opinions that I can have and share, at a party of mixed company that are going to be popular and make me the life of the party. And there are other things that, if I say them, will make me the pariah. I don't think I've ever been kicked out of a party, but very close. I've had entire rooms of people at a party turn against me. I remember one time in Oakland, you know, I don't remember exactly the topic, but one guy that I thought was my friend, I was explaining, taking one of my positions, one of my opinions that I have that don't blend well with most people. But he took it upon himself to, yeah, but you're a landlord and you're white and you're blah, blah, blah. A guy that was supposed to be my friend and he's also white, whatever. But he didn't have my back at all. In fact, he just took the side of all the people that were, what's your problem? What are you, some kind of Republican, some kind of conservative? I thought you were an artist. Anyway, it matches. The fact that my Twitter, originally I had like something like 6,000 followers way back in 2008, because they all followed me because of my art and a recommendation from a guy that already had tons of clout, The fact that they hate my content now, and the fact that the robots seem to really not like me makes sense to me. A robot would look at my feed and go, something's weird here. This guy has this many followers to begin with. They all hate him. They all put him on mute because there's a conflict. Because on one thing, they like the boobs. They like the big popular thing, but they don't like that I defend Donald Trump. So when the algorithm punishes me, I don't know, you call it the algorithm, and it also is just like, well, the algorithm of people punish me for the exact same reason. So, there's a lot to be said about algorithms, and I believe that algorithms should be transparent. I think you should port over labeling laws, food labeling laws to the algorithm thing. If you have to accept the idea that there is such thing as mental health, and I'm not so sure I do, but if you do accept it, if you're pushing that idea, then mental health, is as important as your physical health. And your mental health, if people are using algorithms and ingredients to affect your mental health in any way, good or bad, you should know about them, But anyway, point being is it's not like there's this tremendous disconnect between the way the public at large treats me face to face and how I'm treated online. Even walking down the street, I have long hair and a long beard, and I don't dress like everybody else, and my attitude's different. I'm treated differently by the public face to face, and not in this way where everybody's just like fist bumping and what's up, you're the greatest. There was a moment of that when people just associated me with nudity, naked girls. There was some of that, but not for my opinions, not for the things that I think. Like even when I was young, the more people knew about the more I said what I thought, honestly, what I think about life, the more I communicated with people, the less likely I was going to have broad appeal with people. And I knew that. And, I've asked myself a lot of times, well, why is that? Are you just a contrarian? Are you just, is it sabotage? Are you sabotaging yourself or what it is? I think it seems to me that I just have to express things the way that I actually see things, I'm really big on reality. I like to be in touch with reality, despite the fact that I've made a lifelong effort to bring imaginary things to light via art. When it comes to actually expressing things and talking about the world and analyzing the world, reality is the most important thing, because you have to be able to go, to a person, can we both inspect this thing and see it from two different views, but realize that we're looking at the same thing, you know? So I like reality when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I don't think, I don't see a tremendous disconnect between the way the internet works and the way reality works. I do see some manipulation, but again, I see that same kind of manipulation in the regular world. You know, certain ideas are scorned and shunned, and others aren't. Well, you're banning my content. Well, your content has a lot of wieners in it, and guess what? You can't walk through the mall with your wiener hanging out of your pants. So you're not being banned, but society kind of... Anyway, you can't complain when you make content that isn't for everybody and everybody doesn't like it. In fact, wouldn't that be crazy? What would be interesting for me is if suddenly, and it is kind of interesting, sometimes I'll make a recording that instead of getting 10 views on YouTube, or, you know, there's more views on Facebook because that's where I do most of my socializing, and that's where there's more accountability. So, but still, engagement is low wherever it is, and I expect that because the people with whom I agree are a very narrow subset. If you take me into a room of 1,000 people, and I don't know how you would do this, you know, but if you gave me enough time to interview everybody and give a list of 10 crucial questions, the chances that I'm going to find a match in a group of 1,000 people that match on 10 crucial questions, whatever they may be, is low. Because I've been alive a long time on the planet, and I have essentially interviewed or talked to enough people, and you realize how seldom the crucial checkboxes are ticked where you find a match, so to speak. You know, I've never, well, I tried a dating website one time, like when I first moved to San Francisco, you know, almost 30 years ago, and went on one date from it. Or maybe there was two. I went to lunch with some Vietnamese lady, and it became very clear that this was her scam to get free lunch. The second one was somebody right around the corner who I wrote the most sarcastic dating profile of all time. It was intentionally meant to be a joke of a dating profile. I was mocking the whole dating profiles to begin with. And some lady immediately, like 10 minutes after I posted it, this is pre any sort of internet fame or infamy or whatever you want to call it. And she just, based on my profile, she laughed, ha, 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 that's hilarious. I actually live around the corner from you. You know, but I don't know if she knew this. She said, I run this certain salon or whatever. And we triangulated and figured out that's right around the corner from me. She goes, well, I'm having a party. You should come over. And so I did. I went over, went to the party. And I wasn't there for more than 20 minutes until she tried to start turning the tables as if it was me that approached her. You know, you get that subtle shift where it's just like, wait a minute, you invited me to this thing, okay? I just posted the thing. I didn't send you a message. Anyway, so that was the end of that. That lasted for about, 3 or 4 days until I took that down and never revisited it. But anyway, finding a match, the numbers match. To me, the numbers match. When I look at, I don't know why I have, YouTube wants you to know about analytics. Facebook just forced me to switch over to a business profile or lose something. And I just, okay, fine. It's basically the same thing. Facebook looked exactly the same after I switched over. Except for now they're always trying to give me pep talks as if I want them. Like, your engagement was this. You had 50 times more engagement when you did this. Your audience is mostly, so it's like, why do you think that I'm interested? I guess I'm posting, so it's gauging the fact that if I'm posting, that means that I want to share somehow. And I don't know. I think the internet's also filled with a lot of people that want to make these types of recordings. I've got a couple people that comment on my videos that also have YouTube channels that are kind of like mine, where they just monologue. They say, this is what I'm thinking. It's kind of like journaling. I think that's what this is. For me, I couldn't tell you exactly the psychology behind it, but some of it is that I don't want to plague somebody with a bunch of messages. And I'm the type of person, if I'm interested in a topic, I want to continue with it. And other people are busy. I'm not as busy. So rather than just leave a fucking 100 voicemails on somebody else's phone about it, waiting for their responses and realizing it's lopsided, I just go, I want to talk about it. Fucking, I'll talk about it, record it, and put it down for posterity or for whoever else wants to hear it. And one of the main reasons I think that I do it is I'm curious to know if there are other people in the world and how many other people there are in the world that are like me. Of course, I've been told my whole life that I'm unusual and people aren't like you. People, if I could tell you how many times people tell me, yeah, but people aren't like you, in response to how I think the world should be. Like, it's like, yeah, but people aren't like that. Yeah, but people aren't like you. Okay, I get it. But somebody is. There are a few, And so I'm more interested in that. Like, and call it being me trying to be magnanimous or something, but I feel like when you have opinions that don't match with both sides, or you find yourself politically homeless, I know that's a popular thing to say. Joe Rogan says it. Lots of people say it. Although they're not, I don't know if they're as homeless as I am. And certainly Joe Rogan to me seems like he's tries to play it safe. He's trying to be broad. And I don't have the patience to, I don't know, tiptoe around. I guess I do kind of, because I spent so much time tiptoeing around actual parties in San Francisco. But even then, I wasn't. My social life in San Francisco was, even though I was popular and I got the red carpet treatment and invites to every single party, everybody wanted me to show up with 3 or 4 girls as I used to, The reality is that I would be at the party for about 5 minutes before I wanted to leave. 10 minutes. I would stick around longer if I came with somebody because, I don't want to be that guy pulling somebody away, And I had to do a lot of mental gymnastics to say, wherever you are is where you are. Just be wherever you are. You don't need to go somewhere else. But I was always wanting to leave. And the drinking, when I would drink, ultimately what it would do is it would give me the courage to leave when I wanted to leave. But then as soon as I would leave, if I left with a buzz, and alcohol makes me want to be social. That's really the only thing that alcohol does for me, is makes me want to communicate with people or whatever. So I'd leave and immediately feel abandoned by everybody else, even though I was the one to leave, But so that feeling of not jibing and not fitting in with people has always been a thing. Even when it seemed from the outside that I was fitting in better than anybody. I have a friend that contacted me recently from high school, and it's been, I think, frustrating for him communicating because, again, if you were to just go down and start Googling me and start looking, there's enough information out there and association with maybe famous people and stuff that it seemed you could draw a picture of somebody that's super good with people and has it easy with people. You could say that guy, people like him, blah blah blah, or at least they have at certain points in his life. And but it would give the wrong impression. It just would. Because the real thing is, even in all those times, I was just like, you know, I just realized I was about to quote Radiohead, you know. I don't think I'm a creep, but that I'm a weirdo, I don't belong here. I don't even think I'm a weirdo, but I don't belong here. That line has resonated with me forever. It's just like, oh man, what am I doing here? I don't get these people and they don't get me. You know, that's really what it comes down to. So when I'm posting these things, it's because if there were a person in my life with whom I jibed completely, and the back and forth that I agreed with them, and it didn't have to turn into an argument, I posted about this just on Facebook the other day, you know, where the balance has to be there. That's what it takes for a relationship, I think, to work, as a balance. In other words, a back and forth. You're talking, they're talking. You know, you're exploring an idea, they're exploring an idea. You're there together. But in my experience, it's either been I'm the one doing all the yapping, or I'm doing the one doing all the listening. It's one or the other. You know, people either want you to be their audience and shut up, and they're not listening to you at all. And I'm not a good audience. I'm a good participant. If it's me and a person speaking back and forth, and I'm interested in the things they're interested in, then I can talk to somebody and have a good time for a long time. But that's rare, few and far between, almost non-existent, you know? And so, anyway, my view counts reflect that. That's exactly to be expected. But what I was going to say is, like, they give these stats that I don't really want to know about. But the pressure is, it seems like these, I'm not going to blame this on internet pressure or algorithmic pressure. This is just life pressure. Life pressure is always being applied for you to conform to a team, to join a team, get on it and conform to the team. That's what school is about. A diploma is a conformity certificate. A grade is a conformity award. You know, it's how well do you conform with what's taught to you? How well do you reflect back? You know, here's what we're going to teach you. Repeat it back. Do the things that we ask you to do, and we'll give you a good grade, and we'll reward you with, you know, maybe a possibility to go to another institution that's going to do the same thing, and then into a job that's going to reward you for the same things, for conforming, you know? So I'm not going to blame the internet for that, and I'm not even going to necessarily say that people have designed to keep people away from their true selves. As far as I can tell, people just kind of naturally do that, you know? I think most humans are naturally conformists. They're naturally herd animals. So when Facebook is trying to coach me, or YouTube is trying to coach me, or even Twitter is trying to coach me, and that's what they're doing with their analytics, you know, click on the analytics to see how you're doing. Are you hitting all the right marks? Are you saying the things that people want to hear? You know, here's your engagement. When you talk about this, people like it. When you talk about this, people don't like it. And the implication is, talk more about this, you know? And I'm not much tempted by that. I guess there's a little bit. I recognize it that, you know, when you say something, like, for example, I made a post for one of my recordings a couple of days ago was on the topic of you'll own nothing and you'll be something. And for whatever reason, the YouTube algorithm liked it and the people liked it or whatever. And there were substantially more views on that video and comments and engagements on that video than other ones. I couldn't tell you exactly why. I don't know if it's because YouTube wants to just throw you a bone. I don't think the content in that video is much different than the content that are in any of my other recordings. But, you know, maybe just the buzzwords of the WEF. But anyway, so when I saw that, I thought, what is it about that video? As I'm doing right now. Is it the WEF? Maybe people are so interested in the WEF, and maybe that quote, "You'll own nothing," is so triggering to people, as it is for me, that just because it appears in the transcript, it gets fed to people that are searching out that quote. I don't know. I don't really care, honestly, because I think I don't have to fight very hard to say I'm not going to just make another video on that topic. But it does occur to you. You do think. I do think like, well, that's popular. Maybe I have more to say about that. I have more to say about that, So why don't I spend more time? Well, because you're responding to that thing. And then you're behaving in a way to become popular. And I'm not interested in that, like, at all. Not even the slightest bit. In fact, that's the big fear. The big fear, people often ask me, why don't you share your music? If I do, I have a rule that if somebody literally requests my latest song, if they say to me personally, hey, let me hear your latest song, I'll go, okay, cool, here's my latest song. And oftentimes like, man, this is really good, dude. You got to share this stuff. You got to share this. This is better than stuff that's out there. People really have said this to me, believe it or not. And they're probably just being nice, but there's always encouragement to share it. And I don't. And I don't share it because I've been popular before. And when you take into consideration that I'm a person that doesn't agree with most people, and that I'm a narrow-minded, or it's actually that my interests are so broad that it narrows the field down because most people aren't so broad. So when you combine that with popularity, it's a bad combination. It means that the likelihood that you're going to have to engage with more people is going to increase. You're going to get more invitations. You're going to get more people coming up to you and starting conversations with you. And I guess that there are some things that are kind of good about that. But for me, mostly that just creates more opportunities for me to become very uncomfortable, holding my tongue, pretending to be pleasant, pretending to be enjoying myself, and that's not fun. There's nothing fun about, in my opinion, holding my tongue. I don't like it. There's nothing I like about sitting there going, I can't say this because this is going to upset that person. If I say this, it's going to upset that person. Yet it's the truth, and I want to say it because I want that person to know that I don't agree with them so that they can stop thinking that I like them. I want to free us all of the chains of pretend, It's such a bondage to sit there and have to pretend that you're enjoying a conversation that really you're not enjoying, or listening to somebody's story that doesn't concern you. It won't. They're not interested in what you have to say about it. They just want you to listen to them. You can look at these recordings as my version of this, I'm not bothering anybody with all this stuff that I'm saying right now. Nobody is held hostage. If I went on a date, I would still feel compelled to say the things that I'm saying, and talk about the things I want to talk about. But then that person is kind of held hostage. Or I'm held hostage. I have to listen to them. They have to listen to me. And at least this way, nobody's being held hostage. Like, again, the analytics, you see the analytics. I know that even for my views, even if there's only a handful of views, most people click off after a minute or two. I get it. And that matches with reality. Because in reality, most of the time I'm having a conversation with somebody, either I'm clicking off after the first 2 minutes or they're clicking off after the first 2 minutes. Either I'm in my head going, when is this going to end and when can I get the fuck out of here? Or I sense they're doing that. You know, oh, you're not paying attention to me anymore. Okay, so time to go home. It's also why I don't schedule open-ended things with people. Like, hey, what are you doing? Let's hang up. Let's catch up. I usually go, well, I'm going for a walk at the beach. I usually go for a walk at the beach every day, and I know the walk on the beach is going to last only an hour, So there's an out moment. Anyway, do you feel like you're my therapist now? You don't need to, because I'm not going to send you $110 for this session, no matter what. Anyway, so if you're one of those people, and I think some of you are, because I've clicked, I've got a few subscribers, and I've clicked on the people who have the same kind of thing. I mean, YouTube is definitely connecting me with other, what would you call us, monologists, YouTube philosophers, ponderers, arguers, I've seen a couple of you out there, and I see you're doing the same thing. So I get it. YouTube is possibly at least figuring that out, And good for you. Good for us. High five. Thanks for listening. Unnecessary outro song to totally waste.